Welcome back to Overly Real Podcast, episode 3. Tari and McCarroll. Did
Gonna say a switch on tag like
No.
last time.
Nah.
Nah, it's Jay Rush, man. Jordan Russell, man. So, yeah.
So, this is episode 3, and this episode is going to be based on the title Like Minded Individuals. So, do you have a personal story or significance of like minded people in your career or your life in general?
Um, I can say definitely like-minded people. I'm one of the youngest people, especially like on my team, and with my company. Like I'm fresh out of school. A lot of them have been in the workforce for a while or been out of school for a few years, so they got a few years under their belt. I'm like maybe 8 months in my career. Um, but I got a couple people that I kind of like look up to, um, that look out for me, and I feel like they're my mentors unofficially. They kind of guide me through how to be successful in this career. Um, and because I'm a financial analyst, you know what I'm saying. Coming out of school, I didn't know that I would be doing this or whatever. But they've been in the profession for a few years, some 5, 10, 15, 20 even.
Okay.
And I feel like we're like minded in the fact that we want to be successful, or maybe they are successful already, and I want to be where they are. Maybe even excel past, because I feel like that's the point of having a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like take what they give me and pay it forward.
Okay.
You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? So,
I could kind of say the same thing. I'm entering into my last month and a half of my internship, and I have an internship with the local police department, and just riding along with these guys every single day, asking them certain questions, asking them for advice on my law enforcement career, and it gives me insight to how they think and what would be best for me excelling in my career in law enforcement. And it's been really helpful. Just like you said, having people that's been in their career 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They have a lot more experience than me. With that being said, with me wanting to, like you said, be successful, it me asking those questions and asking for that advice is only going to be a push forward for me in my own career. So I could definitely relate to what you just said. So I mean that kind of ties into my next question of how do you think it can enhance your personal growth and your professional growth. So
um, it's a good question. Just kind of going back to the success factor.
mm-hmm.
Um, I know a lot of successful, a few successful people in this profession, and also like in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see how they navigate. I see what they've done for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I see kind of like where they want to be, or where they've gone, like being supervisors or maybe being a vice president of business operations. Um, I kind of see myself like being a sponge, just taking all the knowledge that they give to
Mm-hmm.
me and using that to enhance my career. Right now, I'm a young person in this profession, but there's gonna there's gonna come a time when I am the older person, like I'm the OG.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So now it's my time to drop the knowledge and help people navigate this profession, or even in any other profession. You know what I'm saying? Because
Uh-huh.
corporate is corporate. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at with it. What
And
about you?
just like he, just to kind of and emphasize the importance of being a sponge, being coachable, being open minded to like minded individuals, because being like minded doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to be open minded. You have to have diversity in thought. And so just kind of being a sponge and absorbing all the knowledge and different tips and things of that nature of the career will definitely help you be successful. And just kind of like what he said, I'm young right now, entering into my law enforcement career, and like he said, just absorbing the knowledge and the tips and the things of that nature. Just absorbing that is very important because one day, like you said, we will be the OGs of our career, and there will be younger adults like ourselves right now asking us for advice and asking us what steps do you think that they should take in order to be successful in that career. And that kind of ties into my next question. Um, do you see yourself being in a leadership role in your career at any point?
Okay, so um, right now I'm living in two careers, right? Um, I'm a financial analyst, but I'm also a high school basketball coach.
Okay.
So I kind of tackle the financial analyst um, role. I really don't know where this career will take me. Of course, I want to be promoted and all of that. Maybe intermediate analyst, a senior analyst. But I just really don't know. Like I said, I didn't have any plans on being a financial analyst when I came out of school. I wanted to do cybersecurity until I did an internship in that, and I was like, yeah, it's maybe not what I want to do on my day to day. And then I got into this career, and the day to day work is I'm happy doing what I do, and I feel like that's important when you're going through and navigating a career. Like you can't be doing something every day. Well, I feel like you can't do something every day and you not love it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of like where I see myself with this career. Maybe you know ranking up as far as like intermediate, senior level. Um, but wherever this career takes me, if that's leadership opportunities, then yeah, of course, I'm not gonna back down from a challenge. I'm not gonna back down from an opportunity. In the same breath, I do coach high school basketball. It's always been my dream to be a coach. Never imagined that I'll be coaching high school, let alone at my high school where I play basketball. And maybe eventually I do want to be a head coach of a program someday. Um, but right now I'm under a coach. He's been coaching. This is his 21st year, going into year 22 in a few months.
Man, he been coaching for a minute.
Yeah,
I ain't know that.
yeah. So he's been in the game. He kind of started how I started. But he's a teacher, but he started middle school level, then high school level. Then he became like as an assistant. Then he became a head coach. You know, and then he's been a head coach maybe since 2011.
Okay.
I want to say. Got a state championship, a couple Final Four appearances. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty successful.
North South All Star game, Alabama Mississippi All Star game. So that's something that I see for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to impact people how he's impacted people. Like he told me at one of his schools, like for Black History Month, somebody used him on the door. Like you know how we used to decorate the doors for Black History at Sparkman? He was on somebody's door.
Oh man.
As Black History. So I feel like I want to be able to do that for this community. Be a pillar for that. And even if it's in my career, I want to be able to be a pillar like any way that I can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Have that effect on the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And kind of what he said, with me entering into law enforcement, there are going to be certain officers who have 20, 30 years of experience, and they're on their way out the door as far as, retiring. And, with me just coming into the profession, there's a lot to learn. And, basically like what he said, in the future, if, the career takes me down the road of leadership, I'm not going to back down from it. Because like you said, I would love to be a pillar to my community and, have that effect on the people around me, especially with everything that's going on within the law enforcement career in general. So with me being, a black male at that, I feel like it would be very important for me to have that, that positive effect on the community, letting them know that, I'm here to protect and serve you. I'm here to make positive and beneficial relationships. Just having that, building that safe camaraderie within the community and my coworkers. So, yeah. That concludes the first segment. Going into the first and second, going into our third. The benefits of being around like-minded people. Some of the benefits, are support and encouragement, and inspiration and motivation, positive influence and accountability. That's a big one. And last but not least, building a strong network. So, could you just kind of talk about or discuss the emotional and mental support that comes from people who understand your values and visions?
Okay, cool. So I know I always talk about TSU on here. Um, but I could kind of go back to something that we did freshman year. Like when we all met, we had our friend group. Like,
Mm-hmm.
bro, we weren't going nowhere if our homework wasn't done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wasn't all of us. Some people just said forget homework, and you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
for the bulk of us that really took school like serious, like we weren't doing anything without getting our homework done.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's one of those things of having like a support system. Because like when you go off to college, of course, well, not everybody can. I'm fortunate enough. You're fortunate enough to be able to call our parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A guardian. You know what I'm saying? And just talk to them. But when you at school, you kind of by yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you should try to meet people who will be there for you, have your back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what we prided ourselves on in freshman year. So I did that. It kind of stuck with me. You know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and to kind of piggyback off what he said, me and him were roommates our freshman year, and so, you know, there were certain moments where he'd be on his side of the room doing his homework, and I'd be in class, and he'd be finishing up his assignment, and I'd just be getting off class, and he'd be like, Keyshawn, make sure what I'm saying you get that homework done, or make sure you join this class this certain time, because I believe we had maybe one of the same classes. It might
English. We had English.
was it.
No, was it English?
It was one class we had together, and I can't remember if we had at the same time or it was different times, but we had the same teacher.
Maybe it was like music appreciation or something.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and whenever, because I can't, like I said, I can't remember if I had it at a later time than he did or earlier in the day, but needless to say, he would ask like, Keyshawn, like, did you get done with that assignment? Because I'm done. Did you get done? You know what I'm saying? Make sure, you know what I'm saying, you get on it, make sure you get it done. And so, just having people around you, or like a support system, like you said, is very important in order to push you further, push you past your limits. So, that's very important.
I'm glad you said that too, because now that I think about it, I didn't even think about it from that aspect.
Yeah.
Because we are cousins, bro.
Yeah.
We've been going to school together since 7th grade.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we blessed to be able to go to all our schools together, minus elementary school,
Yeah.
and hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
So could you kind of give me an example, and maybe you could refer to the fraternity you're in, of how being in a like-minded community can boost your confidence and resilience?
Ooh.
Because I know you have a whole bunch of line brothers that have different career paths, but you guys joining the same organization, sharing the same principles.
For a lot of us, if not all of us, we join AKSI to get professional development. You know what I'm saying? And for one, that has helped me tremendously. Needless to say, but I would just say, like, as far as us being like-minded, that's what kept us going throughout all the times. You know what I'm saying? And going back to the support, like, to this day, we own each other about doing what we need to do, getting our goals, crossed off, stuff like that. But another organization that I would say is Sub G. We are all creative minds, right? So that's where the like-mindedness comes in. But we all have different styles of creativity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was an organization that also helped me come out of my shell. I'm not a shy person,
He's not a shy
But
person.
I'm
Don't be
not a
fooled.
person who wants to get like. To be honest, like this podcast, I never would have saw us doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Like Sub G really helped me get out of my shell. Like I like talking, but I won't get in front of a big crowd and talk. You know what I'm saying? Sub G helped me do that.
So for the people who are watching who don't know what Sub G is, could you kind of like explain how that ties into, like you said, you guys' creativity coming together and
Okay, yeah. So Sub G stands for Student Union Board of Governors. It's well, it's not really an organization, but it's an organization at TSU. It's a part of the Student Government Association. It's one of the three branches. You have the Student Election Commission, and you have the House of Delegates, which is the class presidents and the Mr. and Miss TSU. And then you have Sub G, which is like the event planners kind of the SGA. I mean, everybody SGA, has events. SEC has SEC week. And of course, the class kings and queens and presidents. They have their events, but we plan like the homecoming, the Tiger Fest, which is our spring fest at TSU. You know what I'm saying? So we just had a courtyard Wednesday night courtyard. So we plan those kind of events, and
those were lit.
Yeah, so it's like I took what they gave me in Sub G, and now I'm comfortable planning events. I'm comfortable talking in front of a camera or a big crowd. Like,
Yeah.
So kind of just going back to the like-minded, again, I'm going to tie everything back into success, because I know that joining organizations or doing anything, you want to be successful in that. And just kind of having those like-minded people kind of helped me be successful. And now, like, I was the old guy on the block. So I'm trying to take what I got from the younger people and help and put it into my career so that I can help them get into their careers and enhance their success. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's kind of.
So with what he just said, I was in two organizations on campus. One was a campus organization. Another one was a Divine Nine frat. And like he said, just having those people around you who want to be successful and want to make something out of themselves, it kind of just, like I said, it pushes you. And with me having 26 other line brothers, that's 26 other different people who are pursuing different careers and have different life aspirations. And me seeing that, and us talking in our group chat daily about my careers and life in general, it shows me, because I am the youngest on my line. My oldest line brother is like 26, 27. I'm 22, and so
Your oldest line brother?
I want to say Ethan or Lassane. I think it's Ethan. Yeah.
Lassane 26?
He's 25 or 26, one of the two.
Well, that's not far-fetched, because I'm 23.
No.
So that ain't far-fetched, though.
That's still old compared to me.
They was 24 when they crossed?
Yeah, I was 19. 4 or 5 years of experience is a big difference. Right. But just being around the older guys, and seeing their success shows me that it's obtainable. And even just being around Jordan, my cousin, it shows me that it's obtainable. You just have to put your mind to it. So the next point was the inspiration and motivation. That kind of ties into what we literally was just talking about. But how do you feel like you being around people that have similar goals can inspire you to work harder and or smarter?
Ooh, okay. So I was a part of the Royal Court. I was Mr. Freshman. And somebody that I really looked up to was Nathan. He was Mr. TSU and stuff like that. So I just kind of saw like his impact on campus. And that's something that I wanted to align with. Whether I wanted to run for Mr. TSU or just be a guy on campus that just made everybody's day. Like you never not saw Nathan smiling. You never not like you always saw him trying to make others feel bigger than what they were. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that is very important because you never know whose life you can impact.
Exactly.
Like that. And so, again, that's one of those like unofficial mentors. They're like a real big brother that I looked up to on campus. And I would say we were like-minded because like that was his mission, and that's something that I wanted to do, and I was able to do. Like still to this day, and I'm not saying it like trying to be boastful or nothing.
Yeah.
Like I could go to TSU and people see me. They might have saw me 2 months ago, but they act like they haven't seen me in 5 years, and that means a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of like to shout out a person that made an impact on my life and kind of help guide me to how I want to make people feel.
And I want to give Nathan a shout out too, because like Jordan said, Nathan was one of those people, especially as incoming freshman. He made people feel bigger than what they were. I think that's what you just said. Yeah, and that's very important to incoming freshmen, especially with him being in the Mr. TSU position. That's like a high position on campus. That was very important to me. He spoke to you when he seen you. He'd stop, have a short conversation. It didn't matter where you came from or how involved you were on campus. And I'm talking as a freshman. And so I was very thankful for Jordan to bring him around me and for me to, have those small conversations or even just what's up, bro? How your day going? What you got planned for the day? Those small conversations could take you a long way. And one of the people that I looked up to was actually in my campus organization. His name is DeAndre, Dre. We call him Dre. Maybe through his last semester of school, he kind of backed away from the people, because we of course we had our own group because we were an organization, and so he kind of backed away a little bit. It wasn't no hard feelings, nothing like that, but that's when he backed away to start taking his life serious and. He wasn't hanging out every night or he wasn't doing this or that. He was taking time to himself to focus on himself and graduating and getting his career together. And, me and him had a conversation when he came down a couple of weeks ago of, and I was just telling him like, bro, like I really see what you were doing now that I'm in the same position. And, I completely understand and I applaud you for, taking time to self-grow and taking the time to focus on yourself and be successful after you graduate. So shout out to you, Dre.
He's one of those people too that make you feel like you're bigger than you are.
Exactly.
Sure,
Exactly.
I ain't gonna lie, he'll light up a room when he come in that mug. So
you won't miss him.
Yeah,
You'll definitely know he's in the room.
He coming in joking, you know what I'm saying, talking crazy. So yeah, he's one of those people also. So yeah, shout out to you, Dre.
And so, how do you feel like, and not even with just Nathan or Dre, but just the people that you've came in contact with, or like-minded people that you came in contact with at TSU, how do you feel like that helped fuel a collective growth? You could refer back to, all your line brothers or people you're in sub G with being successful now.
I would say this. It kind of all started with, it started with Mr. Freshman, you know what I'm saying? But I met like Tyreek and them, you know what I'm saying? They made me want to try like being an RA. And once I did the RA thing, AK Side came next. Boom, boom, boom. Like I was more open to trying new things because I wanted to meet new people. Maybe I could impact their life. Maybe they can impact my life. We can impact each other's life. You know what I'm saying? So I just take like I'm not gonna say it was like things were like stepping stones because nothing is a stepping stone to me, but it's like, okay, I start here level 1, kept leveling up because the like-minded people pushed me to become greater than what I was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to be honest, TSU was the first time I felt like I really had a name. You know what I'm saying? Around here, I'm, Jason brother, Jason son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like Pam son. Like I feel like when I went to TSU, everybody knew me as Jordan J. Russ. You know what I'm saying? So like, or Russ.
Yeah.
So they, the people who I had around me, the like-minded people, y'all pushed me to become greater than what I was. So yeah.
And I'm gonna keep going back to what I said because this everything that we talk about ties into the title of this episode. But like I said, me seeing my different org brothers and different line brothers be successful, it showed me that it's obtainable. All it takes is for you to step away from all of the outside distractions for a minute to focus on yourself, and collectively with everyone around me being successful, like I said, it showed me, or it's showing me that it's obtainable. So I'm just very thankful to have all of these successful people around me, because one of my biggest fears, and I'm sure this is a big fear of young people in general trying to be successful, is not doing anything with their lives. That's, I feel like that's like a typical thought. Even if you are being successful for your age, we still all have that thought in the back of our mind of I don't want to not do anything with my life. So like I said, just seeing everybody around me being successful and doing their thing with their career and with their life, and it kind of just, it motivated me and fueled me to become the best version of myself. And the next one is the positive influence and accountability. So, how do you think your support system can help you stay on track whenever a challenge arises, or how do you feel like your support system helps as far as that?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would definitely say when my cousin Tia died, like that was one of the lowest points in my life. You know what I'm saying? I just never imagined that. She had died at 21 years old.
Rest in peace.
You know what I'm saying? So, though I would say, and this is going back to my LBs. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I also had an LB. She lost her father. You know what I'm saying? That's what helped us get close. Which T is not my parent or nothing, so I can't fathom losing a parent. But just the loss in general, that's what got us closer. Me and Jada Young. But I would definitely say like my family, they kept me uplifted. My LBs, they kept me uplifted. You know what I'm saying? I had a real heart to heart with Josh in the process too, and that kept me going, because there's days that I wanted to give up, and school was getting a little hard just because I couldn't focus. All I could think about, my cousin was, killed. So it's like having people around you that can uplift you, that can take the burden off. You know what I'm saying? It's such a blessing to have
People you can confide in.
Saying? Got 35 line brothers. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to lean on them. I got family. I got you. I got my mom. Them. The time I had a girlfriend. So yeah, though that all of that in one is just a blessing to have. So.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a blessing to have people around you that care about you, and that's willing to help you when you're down. That's very important. And also in the same breath, it's also important to have those people around you, because they hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And one of the important things I feel like as an adult is to be able to have accountability. Not blaming other people for what things that you did, or things that's causing you to be on a maybe like a downfall, something to that extent. But you know, it's just important to have the people around you that care about you, people that you can confide in, because you know you don't want to hold those thoughts in your head, or you know you don't want to constantly think about those things, you know, because it can become a burden on your mental health after a while. You can go back and look at the last episode. We talked about mental health, but you know, so and the last point is building strong networks. Because you just kind of talk about the importance of connecting with people who align with your beliefs and your interests and values.
Okay, so going to back to having two careers, right? And really, one career helped me get my career. So, kind of like a little backstory. I kind of talked about it in the first episode, but um, I coached middle school basketball for 3 years, and then I coached AAU for 2 seasons. And so over those 2 seasons, I met Miss Shiloh, and she works for my company. She's a big name in my company. You know what I'm saying? She on that website, so you know. But I met her, and she got to see.
You said Miss Shiloh.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Miss Shiloh.
Yeah. So I got to meet her through coaching her son, right? And she got to see me from one year to the next, how I kind of grew as a person. Of course, she didn't know me the first season, but she got to know me through, you know, car rides. Like some tournaments, I would ride with her.
That ties perfectly into my next question.
So her and her husband and their son, I would ride with them sometimes. And so she got to know me over the car rides, got to see my personality as a coach. You know what I'm saying? What do I do when I'm in my highs? What do I do when I'm in my lows? You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't always win. And so meeting her, you know what I'm saying? They always wanted to check on, like, when I'll be graduating and like what I was studying, what I wanted to do. And I had only done like maybe like 2 internships, both through A&M.
Man said maybe only.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, I really wish I would have done more. You know.
Yeah.
But more of the story, like I met her and you know, she said, "Hey, maybe like you should try to apply for this," and you know, and I applied, and now I'm in my current role. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said that to say, like I networked through basketball to get my career job, right? And so, kind of using that, right? Fast forward to the summer, I'm getting ready to work my career job, like I'm going through all the process and stuff like that. And Sparkman, Coach Coggins retired. You know what I'm saying? And so Sparkman was looking for a coach. So this guy comes up here, you know, Coach Threadgill comes up here, and at first I thought it was his uncle that coached my dad and your dad in basketball. But I'm like, nah, that man just passed. So, but I know he got to be related to them because that's not a common last name. And so I'm coaching AAU. You know, I haven't been in school ball for 2 years, or a year rather. And so the guy that's my assistant coach, he introduces me to Coach Threadgill, right? And so that's me using the AAU to, you know, show myself, show like what I'm capable of, and network. And now I coach high school. I'm back in school ball. You know what I'm saying? So over this year, you know, Coach got to watch me a lot because for a while it was just me and him. You know, we didn't have a staff for the longest, from like maybe like August to the middle of October, maybe November. That's when Man came on, you know. But he got to watch me over that. And he tells me all the time that he can see growth. Um, and I feel like it's important as a leader. You know what I'm saying? He's the head coach to tell the people who work with you or work for you that they're doing a really good job. I feel like
That is very important.
Him saying that makes me want to be better. You know what I'm saying? Like, he tells me I do a good job with, making sure everybody's on the same page as far as the team, like they're being good teammates to each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things, like, where my network is helping with my growth. You know?
Like you said, shout out to you, Coach, for giving people these opportunities. That means a lot. And like he said, that ties into my next point of how important it is to network with people, network with like-minded people, because these relationships can, like you said, lead to personal growth and professional growth. So that the story that you just used, bro, was absolutely perfect for my next point. And like you said, just networking with these different people, you never know what it can lead to. And in his case, it led to, like he said, his two careers, his basketball career and his professional career. So that's why it's very important to network with different people and to build those relationships. We're coming up to the conclusion of the episode. I would just like to recap some of the key points, which are the significance of like-minded people for emotional support, inspiration, accountability, and personal growth. Me and Jordan would both like to encourage the listeners to reflect on, you guys' current relationships and communities. I'll let him touch on that.
Yeah, so for our young listeners, just make sure you're getting around people who push you to be your best. Y'all push each other to gain knowledge, gain wealth, success, and just know that having like-minded people around you can help you achieve your goals. Not saying that you can't do it by yourself, but it does take a village. For our older listeners, I encourage you to help the younger generation find the right crowd. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, it's not easy. Not all of them are willing to listen, but you just kind of gotta find the ones that will listen and hope that they're able to get the other younger generation on the right path. So yeah,
planting that seed, just planting that seed. And we both would like to challenge the listeners, particularly the younger listeners, or even the older listeners, to find your own circle of like-minded people. Whether that's joining that Facebook group chat, or joining that group me that'll help give you business ideas to help your business become successful, or joining that organization on campus that does work out in the community, or even off campus. So that will conclude the last of this episode. And remember to
always keep it overly real, man.